What does it mean to be a Prince Hall Mason? It is more than being a member of a fraternity. It's a way of life that is undergirded by the oaths that we have taken in the 3 degrees to become a Master Mason. It is our commitment to God, to family, and to our community that we may serve those that are in need. It is embracing the beauty of the plum, the strength of the level, and the wisdom of the square. And we do this as we climb the winding stairs to a moral and spiritual compass that has been commanded by the great architect of the universe.
Most Worshipful Past Grand Master Walter C. King Jr., 58th Grand Master, Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York.
I am Most Worshipful Calvin Martin, past Grand Master Prince Hall Mason, state of New York. I served this Grand Lodge from 2003 to 2006, making me the senior past Grand Master presently. I am a member of Joppa Lodge number 55.
I'm Gregory Rolston Smith, 55th Grand Master in the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York.
And I'm Gregory Robeson Smith Jr., 59th Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York.
My name is Gene E. Apollon Sr. I'm the Deputy Grand Master of Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York, and I hail from African Lodge 459, number 63.
My name is Kevin Philip Wardally. I'm the Senior Grand Warden of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York.
My name is Sandino Sanchez. I'm currently serving this Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge as the Junior Grand Warden.
Darren M. Morton. I am the current Grand Master for the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York.
I've heard a lot of good things about the Masons, and I had the opportunity to ask someone to become a member, and I had petitioned the lodge to become a member, which you go through a process that you have to know somebody. So I went through the process. Unfortunately, the first time I tried to become a Prince Hall Mason, I was what they call blackballed, which means I wasn't able to enter into this organization. So I had to wait a year, I reapplied, and then I became a member of this organization.
I'm a 4th generation Prince Hall. Of course, my son is 5th generation. We date back to the 1796, where my great-great-grandfather, Cyrus Bustle, Absalom Jones, and Richard Allen started the first Prince Hall chapter in the state of Pennsylvania. We're both members of Boy Lodge number 1, the oldest continuous lodge in Prince Hall. Family, nationally, organized in 1812. But that's not why I came into Prince Hall. I came into Prince Hall because I discovered that there was something very special in the character made up of men who were Prince Hall Masons. The character of making good men better, the character of meeting on level, party upon the square, no matter what your station in life is socially or economically. Even if you're President of the United States, when you put on a lambskin or white leather apron and common gloves to the lodge door, we're all of one body. Thirdly, that we take an oath and obligation to honor our parents, honor our brothers, widows, and orphans, and we honor them by doing all that can be done to keep them happy in times of difficulty.
My reason was it's a little different, right? As me being a 5th generation Master Mason, I would say I was introduced part of this organization in 1976, say 49 years ago. When my father was raised, I literally grew up, being a part of the Prince Hall family, running through these halls at 155th Street, always being around where I call now a number of the senior members my uncle. And I remember a time when I was young and I happened to see a book sitting on in my parents' bedroom. So there was 2 books actually. So I grabbed, one of the books, and I was able to read it, right? And that's had to do with another fraternal organization. But then there was another book, it was a blue book, that for some reason I couldn't read it. And at the time I was like 9, 10 years old. And I'm going, what is this? I said, what is this? I said, is this a pig Latin or something like that? Because I used to hear my parents talk about it. And then a few minutes after that, my father walks into the bedroom and screams and slaps the book out of my hand and said, don't you ever read this book. And of course, the curiosity as a child, I said, hey, I'm going to find out what this book is all about. And then years later, being a part of the organization.
My son joined the organization on his own free will and accord. We have a process that you have to fill out a petition and get 3 persons who are going to recommend you to come into Prince Hall. They come and investigate you, bring that information back to a lodge meeting, and at the lodge, you vote on those persons, whether or not you receive their petition, and they start membership. So I'm in my lodge in this room one night, and a petition is read, and it's his name on it. We live in the same house. My name was not on his petition. I was not his petitioner. I did not know he was interested in joining Prince Hall until they read his petition at the altar. I still voted for him anyway to come in.
25 years ago, my wife and I came home to find our home burnt and destitute. A friend of mine, God bless his soul, Jim Rose of Harem Lodge number 23 of the 2nd Masonic District, came to see me and some of his friends from the lodge and gave me an envelope with $600 in there. To this day, I still have the envelope and the card. And said, these are the things that we do as Prince Hall Masons to help our friends and our brothers that are destituted. By being so shocked, I wanted to be part of such an organization that could find their way to find someone they barely know and give them some type of charity when they were definitely in need.
The reality is I didn't want to get into Freemasonry. It didn't appeal to me at first. I grew up, my family was deep installed in Freemasonry. My grandfather was a member of my lodge. He was raised in 1941 in this room right here. And but it didn't appeal to me. I came of age in the late 1980s, early 1990s, and this did not seem revolutionary. And I didn't get it. But what made me get into Freemasonry is as I became more of a student of our history, and I looked at African Americans that I really admired, like A. Philip Randolph, Maynard Jackson, Thurgood Marshall, Charles Rangel, who I was working with at the time. Each and every one of them were dedicated Prince Hall Masons. And it made me take a second look and say, shoot, if all of them are involved in this, then maybe I don't know enough of what I'm talking about. And so I spent some time reading every book I can get my hands on about Masonry. And I sought out a brother I had met many years before. Well, let me backtrack for a second. Masonry shaped my life, not only because of my grandmother's involvement, my grandfather's involvement. When I got ready to go to college, I wanted to go to Syracuse University, but I couldn't afford it. My package had come up about $3,000 short. And so I was going to go to the University of Albany because they gave me a great ride. I could play football and life was going to be good. It wasn't my first choice, but life happens. My grandmother, who was a past matron of Beacon Light Chapter, number 58, she knocked on that door. She came, grabbed me. She knocked on that door on a 4th Tuesday when my lodge was meeting. And they closed the lodge. They let her come in, address the lodge. And she said, my husband was a faithful member of this lodge for many, many years, and he's going on to glory. But his grandson is out there in that anteroom, and he needs a scholarship so he can go to the school of his choice. And I know that this lodge is going to step up for him as my husband stepped up for you many, many times. And she walked out. And I got a $5,000 scholarship from the Delphi Union for the 4 years I went to Syracuse. And that made the difference. It changed my life. And I met one of the brothers at that meeting, Wayne Francis, who ended up being my sponsor 10 years later. So I always tell people Masonry changes lives. And I know that because it changed mine. And that was just the beginning. I've seen Masonry change the lives of so many good men, both making them better, making some good. And that's why I'm such a believer, because I know it started with me.
When I was a teenager, had the privilege of being part of the Caribbean Cultural Center. Marta Vega, who's now a doctor in the African diaspora. I went to one of the exhibitions, and I'm 56 years old, so I'm talking about 40 years ago. In the exhibition, it was an exhibition on Marcus Garvey and all the Garveyites. Of course, Malcolm X was in that picture collage thing, and also was Prince Hall and Arthur Schomburg. When I did digging on Arthur Schomburg, I realized that even as a young high school student, I realized that we have so many things in common. So then I realized through further research that he was a Prince Hall Mason. So I was interested in Masonry in high school. When I became about 21, a friend of mine also, somehow the conversation topic about Masonry came up. And then in 1996, I decided to join because I felt in my mind, in my heart, that if Arthur Schomburg was a Prince Hall Mason, so should I.
It's a family tradition. I have a great-grandfather who is a Mason. I have several uncles who are Masons. But I think the most impactful thing for me really stems from my childhood and men who were in the community and in the church who also were Masons, who were great influences on me as a young child, and especially being a young man of color in the 1970s and 80s, growing up, seeing what they are able to do together as a community of men and the things that they stood for. And so at one point I did ask my uncle about it, and then he said to me, just do some research on it. And after a while, when he even came back to me about it, I said to him, well, I don't think I'm ready. I've got a whole lot of stuff going on. It's later on in my life is when I realized that this was one of the organizations that I would want to be a part of in order to help continue to work in the community and make the community better. So ultimately, the decision was, one, personal, but two, also historic from the standpoint of family lineage.
Well, my brother-in-law was a Freemason, Prince Hall Mason, and I saw some of the things that they were doing, and that inspired me to become a Prince Hall Mason, such as providing scholarships for students, taking kids out of the community into camp, and providing financial assistance to some of our widows.
The Brotherhood of Prince Hall Freemasons, the way I look at it, the way I see it is, once again, good man, taking a good man and making him a better man. But the Brotherhood of Prince Hall Masonry is very tight, knitted, very close, love, honor, respect, and especially to the brothers and to our better halves.
The support that they give you when you need it. Visiting when you're sick, visiting your family when they are sick, providing financial aid if you're in need of financial aid. It's just a support system that I don't think that you can find anywhere else, maybe besides the church.
What it is about this thing called brotherhood, what it is thing about obligation and commitment. Anybody that knows me, I take those things very seriously. And very seriously, I take the oath that we took and our obligation as we became Master Masons. And anybody who followed my career know that all the time I referred to what our obligation is as men and as brothers. That was more important than anything. If I didn't learn anything else, I didn't learn that in the corporate world, I didn't learn all the degrees that I have, I learned it as being in the craft and being the worshipful master that kept the craft harmony among brothers of different kinds of persuasions.
Prince Hall Mason has been very good to me. One same situation, I was unemployed. Brother of the lodge that I got into, Past Master Craig Lee, he too, his family and mine became very close in the organization. Knocked on my door, gave me another envelope with some money in there. Of course, I was young in the craft. My ego got the best of me. I said, no, I don't want it. I don't care. He said, well, you know what, young man? When you need it, knock on my door. Times came, I knocked on his door and said, you know what, Pass, I need that. He said, you know what? Here it is. Just do me one big favor. Pass that along, right? And I understood what that meant. And since I've been a Prince Hall Mason, I've been doing such things. If I find a person that's worthy of my charity, of my time, I've passed that along as well. That was one time I knew I was a brother and a member. There's a difference between a brother and a member. It's a big difference.
Well, I think it's made me a better person. I know that it's made me a better brother. It's made me a better friend. It's made me a better father to my son and my daughter. This journey has brought me brothers and family that I never knew or never met, and now they're more important to me than some that actually were born in my family. And that means an awful lot. That means an awful lot to give you people who have value, who love you, and you love them, and you know that they mutually want the best for you, and you want the best for them. And that's what this journey has been about. It's about becoming better in so many different aspects of my life. You know, I've got to know the Grand Architect better because I was kind of lost religious-wise as a young man. I didn't really get it. I didn't connect. But past Grandmaster Greg Robeson Smith Sr. really was very helpful to me. And so have so many other brothers. So this is, as I tell brothers when they ask me about Freemasonry, I tell them, outside the birth of my child, my children, nothing has been as important or as poignant in my life than what I did kneeling at that altar right there.
Brotherhood to me is being a good father, because I told my oldest sons that I am their father, but I'd rather be their friend. So brotherhood is everything from being a good grandfather that I am, a good father that I am, a good brother that I am, and all those things, a good uncle that I am, and showing them that there's a reason why we call each other brothers and not members. There's a reason why we refer to our sisters as sisters. We refer to our sisters in our organization as sisters, daughters, and loyal ladies. Those titles mean something. Words mean something. So that's what it means. It means that Prince Hall Masonry, it's a family. That's why we refer to each other as sisters and brothers.
Well, I will start off with, first of all, saying that from a spiritual standpoint, right? And I've always been connected, at least spiritually. But even from the standpoint of Masonry, spiritually, it has encouraged me to kind of look even more into the Holy Writ, to really begin to understand better what it means from the standpoint of our moral responsibility. And so I take seriously all of the oaths that we have, each of us who are in Masonry have taken, right? And what those words mean and how they tie into God's word and God's teaching. And so when I hear oftentimes folks talk about that this organization is an organization that is ungodly, it's so far from the truth, right? Because all of it its premise is based upon spiritual development. So from a spiritual standpoint, it has enriched me. From a leadership perspective, again, I have broadened my skill set in working with men who come from a variety of backgrounds and stations in life. And while I've had leadership all the ways, even when I came into the craft, this has helped me even more so be able to adjust when need be, to be able to walk among kings and not lose the common touch, be able to acknowledge and see people kind of where they are. And so it has created a different dynamic in my leadership style and allowed me to become much more flexible. From a brotherhood perspective, it has given me a wide range of brothers and men, and also because of the Eastern Stars and women too. And so it has expanded my family reach, right? And so those are some of those things that have helped me personally. I guess if I had to sum it up, I would say holistically, It has been a web of development for me, spiritually, personally, right? And even professionally, right? Because you make connections with people that will also help you in your professional life.
I would just like to see that the younger Masons and the older Masons sit down and talk about what's common. I think if we can reach a common ground, then we can move forward and do what needs to be done in the future.
Well, first we have to introduce the young to the old, right? Just like as when I was young, I walk in the door, I have to speak to my parents, right? Because they are the elders, right? We have to respect our elders, right? We have to educate our young members to respect the elders that are here before you and try to understand what they're doing. Now, as an elder themselves, they have a respect to do it for us as youngers as well, as far as listen to, cater to, understand to, and gravitate to us as well. When we get those two together, and it's a respect on both ways, I think, once again, that's what I'm foreseeing for us, unification in this organization. I think if and when the African American community come together, Prince Hall and all other organizations are African American, there's nothing that could stop us. Nothing at all.
I want to see them be patient, because that's tough in today's world. Be patient. Hone your craft. Learn the ritual. Learn the things that we're trying to teach, right? And figure out how to bring the skills which you have developed through the uniqueness of their lives to benefit the lodge, right? One of the things that have always bugged me sometimes about brothers in Masonry sometimes is that some brothers will stray away from the craft. And when you finally get to talk to them, they're like, man, I was upset, or I had trouble and nobody helped me, right? But you didn't communicate, right? Masonry does not teach us mind reading, right? You got to speak up. You got to say, oh man, I'm a little short, right? I need some help. I need somebody to figure out how to help. We may not be able to pay your rent every month, right? But we can do little things to help you along your way, right? I can get you a couple Metro cards, right? I can get you a ride, right? But if you're in the corner stewing and saying the Masons didn't help me, right? But you never asked for help, the ritual does not teach mind reading. That's not on page 1. And too often the younger brothers, they get upset and then they talk amongst themselves about how the older guys are keeping them down. But one, we don't know what it is they bring to the table, right? They didn't speak up, right? We didn't know. And sometimes come with a plan. Say, hey, man, I know web. Let me do a website for the lodge, right? Because I do that for a living, or I do that as a hobby, right? You guys can approve it, but let me show you what I can do, right? I do videography, right? Let me start a TikTok for the lodge, right? So that brothers can talk to us in this new medium where so many people are talking, right? It may be a million things. Let me start an investment club, right? I work on Wall Street. I don't know that necessarily, right? There's a million things that these young brothers can bring to the table, but they have to let us know what those things are. And they have to let us know when they're unhappy too. Not talk amongst themselves and be unhappy. But then there's an unhappy corner of 20-something-year-olds who now are on WhatsApp talking to each other about how the old guys don't respect them and don't want to give them a chance, but nobody knows.
Wow, that's let's say 5-year, 10-year. I'll go with the short. The short is days like yesterday mean a lot. We celebrated our barbecue, our first district barbecue, to seeing lodges and chapters together, not competing with each other. It was a beautiful thing. I think that is a step in the right direction, to do more together. Yes, we are defined by our lodges and we're defined by our chapters. Every lodge and chapter has its own identity. But at the end of the day, we're all Prince Hall Masons. And when we're together, we're supposed to be able to fellowship like one mind and one body.
To answer the question, I would love to see a whole lot more of our older brothers, our elders, spending time with our younger brothers. And the flip side of that is, I would also see the eagerness and the vulnerability of our younger brothers to be able to sit with our older brothers and to learn more with them. Personalities get in the way, and people want to hold on to things and positions longer than they have to. But that's human nature, right? But as a leader, as the present leader, my responsibility is to break through that and chip away at those things that become obstacles in us being our best self, right? So, no, it's not happening the way that it should. It's not happening at the rate that it should. Is there opportunity for it? Absolutely. But this is a two-way street. The younger brothers have to be willing to accept the fact that the older brothers have made a pathway for them to get here. And they do know more than the younger brothers know. And you have to be willing to be able to hear it, listen to it, take it, and be able to figure out how do you apply it, and even challenge it at times, but do it respectfully, right? The older brothers have to learn how to give way to the fact that the younger brothers don't know, and that also times are changing. And so how do you then open up yourself so that you are able to look at a younger man and say, okay, while he might not have the experience, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have the knowledge to do. So we got to combine the experience and the knowledge together. And how do we do that? By one, me too, as an older brother, opening up and being able to kind of ask the questions, right? So I tell brothers all the time, if you notice, I steer away from making direct statements more than I do asking questions. So what is it that you're trying to do? How can we do this better, right? Do you think that that was really the right thing to do at the time that you did it? As opposed to saying, no, that's not what we're going to do. And here's why we're not going to do it, because we've never done it before, right? And not say, well, that was a little crazy what you did, right? There's a different approach to it. And so I think that we've got to be able to allow for the unknown from both perspectives, and then learn from that which we glean out of asking questions about the unknown.